Hey, it's Kyle here, and today I'll be reviewing the latest episode of The Bad Batch, The Harbinger. Before I get into that, this review will include spoilers, so if you haven't watched the episode yet, please stop watching this video, go watch the episode, and then come back and watch my review. With that warning out of the way, let's get talking about The Harbinger. Before I delve into the events of the episode, I have to kind of address the elephant in the room. I think it will be the main discussion point after at this episode, and that is the return of Asajj Ventress, and also not really addressing the events that happened in the book Dark Disciple. If you're not familiar with this book kind of explains how Asajj was basically redeemed through an interaction she had with Quinlan Voss. I'm not going to delve into all the specifics, but basically they develop a close relationship, and he helps bring her more to the light side of the Force, and helps her, in a lot of ways, kind of like I said, find redemption. So that's why, at this episode, she's at the point where she's willing to help somebody, because I think a lot of people, if they're not familiar with that book, like, this Asajj Ventress, this crazy Sith apprentice who was just constantly trying to kill the clones and the Jedi, and why is she helping them now? So they'll be a little bit confused. For fans of Dark Disciple, they were obviously very confused when the trailer for The Bad Batch came out and Asajj was in the trailer, because at the end of that book, Asajj seemingly dies. Now, some people connected with the show said, like, the events of The Bad Batch won't supersede what happened in Dark Disciple. So I think what a lot of people were hoping was somehow that would be addressed, how Asajj seems to be alive now, where at the end of Dark Disciple, she seemed to be pretty conclusively dead. I think a lot of people like myself kind of speculated, because she does have connections to the Night Sisters, maybe some Night Sister magic had brought her back, and that could be maybe quickly addressed in the series. But instead, she's in this episode, and it's not brought up at all, other than a line at the very end where she just basically tells the Batch, good luck with the Empire coming after me, I have several lives left. Which, if you're familiar with the book, would then be like, well, I don't know, is that some sort of Night Sister thing, that she has some sort of power that she can come back on her own, but almost like a cat, she can only do it so many times. Who knows? But I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be talking more about why that wasn't addressed in the actual events of the episode. I'm hoping that maybe Asajj comes back maybe in a later episode this season, and maybe more of her backstory is addressed to help address the complaints by the really diehard fans of Dark Disciple. Because otherwise I have a fear, if they try to address this the rest of this season with the wrap up the Bad Batch, a lot of people are just going to be ticked off, and I'm sure they'll go back and with a comic or something else try to address that. But I think a lot of people will just have the feeling like, well, they just wanted her in the Bad Batch, they didn't really care about the book, and now they're having to just try to figure out a way to make it work to kind of calm the book fans down, where if they have addressed it in the series, maybe people wouldn't be as mad. So we'll see where we go, but I just kind of wanted to address that off the bat. If you're interested in Dark Disciple, I did do a review for that recently. I'll post a link to it up here towards the end of this video, so just stick around, check that out. If you want to learn more about the Dark Disciple, I'd say, like, if you enjoy the character Asajj Ventress and Quinlan Voss, I would definitely encourage you to check out that book. I think you'll like it a lot. With that being said, let's talk about a little bit more about the episode, The Harbinger. In reality, I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about, because the episode very quickly begins. Asajj is already on Pabu. She's been able to sneak in without the Batch or anyone else even knowing she's there. And she quickly reveals that, she's who Fennec contacted, like everybody suspected. And she asks about why they're checking in about the M-count thing. And, initially they're being very coy, but, Asajj can definitely tell what's going on. And that's when, Omega basically admits, well, the Empire is interested in me, it has something to do with M-count, so we don't know why. And that's when she kind of, reveals, like, well, M-count relates to, like, if you're a Force user or a Jedi. So we never get the word midichlorian, but we kind of do get that connection between M-count and a Force user. And Asajj basically says, like, well, I'll test Omega to see if she has a high M-count. And so we basically get force training montage the rest of the episode, where Omega is very, in a lot of cases, impatient and not really understand what Asajj is doing. And I think a lot of it revolves around, like, she just hasn't been around, force users as much as the clones, so she still doesn't really understand it, even though she's had a little bit of exposure during the course of this series. She still hasn't seemed like a full-blown, super powerful Jedi / Sith like Asajj. So the last training exercises was like Asajj kind of explaining to Omega how like force users can like make a connection with living beings. And so Asajj kind of summons all these sea creatures up, and then we get this cool sea monster battle when Asajj summons a creature bigger than she's expecting. That was a very cool scene. But then Asajj is able to show Omega like what she's capable of, but basically make a connection with this beast, calming it down, and getting it to release them and kind of head off. End of the episode, we get the little interaction between the Bad Batch and Asajj and Omega, and basically Asajj tells Omega, sorry, you don't really have a high M count, you don't really have force ability. Omega kind of goes off disappointingly, but then the Batch is like, you're not telling the truth. And Asajj basically implies like, no, I'm not telling the truth, but if she does have a high M count, she needs to be trained, and y'all are never going to let her go, so what's the point? So we get a little bit of about, so we still don't know, does Omega have force abilities or not? I'm still leaning towards, I think she does. So I think at some point the rest of the season, I think you'll see a moment where she makes some sort of connection to the Force, and that's my prediction. And maybe if Asajj comes back, or maybe if Quinlan Voss comes in the rest of the season, maybe we'll see a little bit of Omega tapping into the Force. Asajj also leaves him with a warning. You think you're safe here, you're not. I think that was perfectly shown by the fact that she was able to sneak into Pabu so easily and find them on Pabu without even Fennec telling them where they were. And, if Asajj can find them, the Empire can find them. I don't think they're going to take Asajj's warning to heart, and I think we're going to see some bad things happen on Pabu, sadly, because Pabu is such a cool setting, but I don't think it's going to be so nice for much longer. The one thing I'll say, probably the part of the episode I thought was the coolest, I love the fight scene between the Batch and Asajj. I mean, I think the Batch had to know this was a pointless effort, because obviously they've had a lot of exposure to Jedi, and they probably have heard all about Asajj, and probably know 3 clones, even 3 members of the Bad Batch, really don't have much of a chance against a very powerful Force user. But they love Omega so much, they are going to try anyway. And so I think that fight really showed how much the Batch is willing to do for Omega. Basically, I think they felt like we're willing to die for her right now if that's able to allow her to escape and get away from Asajj Ventress. And I think it also shows people that weren't familiar with Asajj's transformation to more of the light side of the Force that she's changed. She didn't kill the Batch, even though she could have easily done it, and she let him go. So I think that was a good way to kind of show her character development as well. But that was my kind of favorite part of the episode. But with that being said, what did you think about the Harbinger? Are you upset or happy that Asajj is back? Have you read Dark Disciple? Are you mad about that? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this review, please hit that like button. If you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate the support. Thanks for watching. I'll see you the next time, and may the Force be with you.